Good morning. So I'm not sure if the first slot is the worst or the last slot is the worst straw because everyone's still sleepy from last night. But today, really, I want to share some of my experiences with you to help you navigate your career. A lot of these talks are about technical events, learning how to break into this or prevent these type of break-ins. But something that we all need to focus on really is our own brand, our own career. And I'm going to share some of my stories with you about things that happened to me that maybe will happen to you, which are fortunate, or things that happened to me that were negative that maybe you could avoid. So I've been in IT for 28 years and had some really interesting experiences, I feel, from a networking, database, Linux, security. So I've got a technical background, and I'll get into a little bit more of those details later. But I wanted to start off by some important dates. So for me, there's some really key dates in my life. One, I decided to share my life with somebody, so I proposed to my wife on December 13th, 2002. Fantastic. Happily married for 15 years. Another important date for me is our wedding, May 23rd, 2003. We went away to the Virgin Islands and got married. Stayed married, traveled, had our first kid, so July 24th, 2006, our baby girl was born. December 9th, 2008, my son was born. Got the complete family now. The boy, the girl, the dog, the house. Life's great. Loving my job, killing it. 5 rating, 11 years in a row. We went to Switzerland for an executive leadership training. They spent $18,000 on me to go and work with the world's best leaders in our company. September 24th, 2012. My boss comes in from Toronto. My job is eliminated. Just like that. I was not prepared for that. Not in any sense. I was, making good money. I was killing it. I had a team of 51 people. I ran all of North America, security and services. And they were investing in me. They paid for my MBA. I'm not going to be the next CIO, I thought. Well, unfortunately, this CIO had other plans, and his plans were cost-cutting. So what happened was 3 of the 4 directors got whacked the same day. So I was, again, not really prepared for that. I had all my files, my phone, everything was embedded in my work because I live to work and I work to live. So I traveled all over the country. I was in Quebec, I was in Toronto, I was in Denver, I was in Dallas every other week because my team were there. So I was really into training my team up, keeping them motivated, keeping the plants running. So what I want to tell you is things like that could happen to you. You guys are probably really, really good at your field, craft. Well, unfortunately, there's people higher above, the ones that contain or control the purses, that may have different plans for you, not personally, but as a business, because we're all in this for business. So that's just a couple important events that hopefully you can prepare for with some of these tips that I'm going to share with you today. So I was going to do some Office Space clips, but the last time I ran this, it was a terrible experience. So most of you have probably seen Office Space, so you can get the deck later and enjoy the 4 clips that I have embedded in this deck. But they're funny, but it really talks about the joys of working in IT. So here's our agenda. A little bit of background about me and a few more. I'm going to give you 10 takeaways and tips, really, to help you manage your career better. So I'll share another story. At this same company, I was in Florida on vacation, and my prior CIO called me and said, hey, we're firing 36 of your tech support people today. I said, what are you doing? He said, we're firing all your staff today, and you need to fly home and do it, because I'm not doing it. I said, I'm on vacation with my wife in Florida, and we're hanging out. I'm not coming home today to do that. I said, well, what's driving this problem? He said, well, our budget is overspend. Each group in the company has to take a cut. So our cut is $700,000. And I said, well, let's talk about this. What do we do? He said, well, the easiest thing to do is to whack these 36 people and what we'll do is we'll outsource it. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is not going to work because I have to manage this whole. This is my bucket of business. The plants will stop working. It's going to be a major hassle. I said, well, let's talk about this. Can we postpone it for a week until I get back? So I got back and I said, okay, give me 4 weeks to figure this out. If I can't figure it out, this is the game plan. This is business. I understand. I'm not going to be happy about it. These are my friends. I've worked with them for 11 years, but I get it. So I pulled my supervisors in and said, listen, guys, and I laid it out. I was very transparent. I said, we're going to lay off 36, you guys, and your entire team, unless we come up with a strategy to save $700,000. And guess what? They're still employed there today. So it was thinking a little bit out of the box. It's, gathering the troops, not making the decision all by myself. It's thinking about what's the right thing to do for the organization and for the people, because the people really make the difference. So that's just one experience that I've had, that you don't always need to say yes to your boss. You can question them. You can ask for the whys, because sometimes they're just driven by the CFO, if the IT reports under the CFO. And that was what happened. An outsourcing person got a hold of our CFO in Boston and said, hey, we can save you a lot of money if you do X. And that's kind of the backstory for that situation. So when we're planning as we're going in high school and getting ready to go to college, we think it's like this, right? You go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you make more money, everything's great. But in actuality, this is what really happens. There's highs, there's lows. So what I want to share with you are some of the tips that help me curve those and make them not so dramatic, really, because this is reality. I'm sure all of you can attest to that. So I work for a company called CBI. These are our core values. Prior to coming to CBI, I was the Chief Security Officer for Oakland County, Michigan. So I went there as a consultant and built a program from scratch. So there was no security. We have $1 billion that run through the books at Oakland County, which is the 31st largest county in the country, and there was no security team. So the CIO brought me in and said, hey, what do we need to do? You've done this before at a big company. Help me. So basically, I spent about 3 or 4 weeks, did an analysis, and said, these are the 36 projects we need to run, and we're going to do it over 18 months. It's going to cost $2 million, and here's the plan. And I based it off of ISO. And he said, this looks solid. He said, do you want to build it for me? I said, sure. I'd never had an opportunity to build something from scratch. So I said, make it number one priority for our IT, and give me 18 months, and I'll build it for you. So flash forward, 18 months goes by. We deliver 33 of the 36 projects, plus other ones. And he said, well, I need you here, and I'm going to make a CISO title, and you're going to help me run security for the county. So that's what happened. So the next 3 years, we ran security. I hired a team, and in 2016, we were named the most outstanding IT security program in the country for counties. I figured I was on top of the world then, and CBI has been recruiting me for quite some time. So I decided to exit my public service job and go do something different. So basically what I do now is I'm a CISO advisor for a cybersecurity consulting managed service professional service company. I love it. I've been there 6 months. And I'm working with all my friends. I'm working with the CISOs. I come in and I help them. I'm like, hey, Scott, what are you doing for a strategy? What's your plan for this year? What's your plan for next year? Let me share my experiences with you. And if I have a solution that can help you, great. If I have an idea that we can't deliver on, I pass it on and say, hey, this is probably a good idea for you. You might want to use Okta. You might want to use SailPoint. You might want to use XYZ or something else. Maybe outsourcing is a good thing for you for this particular area. So that's what I get to do for my job. So it's fun. I definitely love what I do. And CBI is a great place to go. So for me, they've allowed me to work with vendors and work with customers and really stay into the field that I really love. So outside of IT security, this is what I do. The most interesting thing I think here is this picture here. In 1991, I was on the show American Gladiators. So not a lot of people get to say that, but I competed at Central Michigan and had an opportunity to go to the palace and meet Ice, Lace, Thunder, Nitro, and compete. So it was a blast. So I only got to do one competition, but it was fun, and I won, so it was fun, even better, because I'm a medal chaser. That's what I do. So let's get into the tips. Networking. You're here, right? You're at GrrCon, and hopefully you've moved outside your comfort zone and talked to some people that you probably would not talk to, because we're all in this business to learn. If you're not in this business to learn, then you're in the wrong business. You have to keep learning every day, and everybody brings something different to the table. So in your organization, one thing that worked well for me when I went to the county was I went and talked with the business. I went to the prosecutor, I went to the sheriff, I went to the medical examiner and said, hey, I'm new here, tell me about what you do. Let me know if I can help you. They had never had someone from IT come over, and I was a security consultant. I said, I'm not here to say no to you. I want to understand what you're doing so I can help you secure the data, because I live in Oakland County too. So you have my data, and I want to make sure it's secure. And we had these just conversations about what their challenges were, what they're concerned about, and if they weren't concerned, educating them. So the clerks handle this data like this, or there's no validation, or you store it over here. And we started having these conversations, and they're like, hey, you know what? That doesn't make sense. We have some gaps. And I said, well, I can probably help you. And so then I started helping them. I didn't put in any technology for 9 months when I went to the county. It was all business relationships. It was networking, finding out what their problems were, and helping them address them. So you know what happens when I started to suggest some technical controls, they were loving it. They're like, this is going to save me. This is going to save, the people of Oakland County and keep us out of the paper. So my point is, get to know their problems and help them solve their problems. That will help you tremendously as you try to create change in your organizations. Outside of your organizations, get involved in places like this. ISSA, ISACA, those are all great places to meet new people and network. Get out there on social media. LinkedIn, I'm on every single day. It might be for 5 minutes, but I'm on there making connections, meeting people, seeing what other people are doing, getting good ideas. And we're all in the business to learn, and when you're networking, you're learning. These are some of the things that I'm involved in right now. If you're not in InfraGuard, you should check it out. It's very popular. There's six different areas in Michigan. Some really good networking connections going on. There's CISOs in there. There's architects in there. There's great presentations, and we meet every 2 months and have these physical meetups. So I'm the VP of the Michigan chapter. So I just took it over about 4 or 5 months ago. And I love it. So I got to meet some privacy officers, some analysts, so just people from all different walks of life. It's a great place to meet up. Don't burn bridges. This is some CISO stats, but really, you're one person away from knowing everybody in IT. Truly. So I'll share another story. When I got laid off from the cement company, I was unprepared. So I was looking for a CISO job, and I wasn't ready to find one. There was nothing available in 2012 for me at the time, locally. I didn't want to move because I had little kids. So I went and applied for probably 400 jobs. 9 hours a day, every day, I looked for a job and applied. I applied for jobs that I was so overqualified for, but I got a severance of about 12 weeks, so that money was running low. And I finally landed a job at Comerica Bank as a project manager. And the way I landed it was, I walked into this program manager's office. He's like, hey, man, I know you. You were DBA at DTE back in the 90s. You were really good, and then you were gone. Well, I left and started my own company back in the 90s. And he said, what are you doing here as a project manager? And I said, well, let me tell you the story. I said, I was CISO. I had this great thing going. Unfortunately, I got whacked about 8 weeks ago, and I needed a job. He's like, you want to be a project manager? I'm like, I need a job to pay for food on the table. I've got 2 little kids. I've got a house. I've got a boat. Yeah, I want a job. But I'm telling you right now that I only want this job for 6 months. I'll give you everything I have. I'll work 40 hours. I'll work 80 hours. Whatever you need me to do. But I need a job to pay for the bills. So he's like, you're hired. 5-minute conversation. That's how I got hired. So it was fantastic. In 5 months, I found a CISO job at Oakland and said, Bob, thank you for the opportunity. He loved what I did. The project moved forward. I said, I'm ready to go. Great things, no problem. Flash forward 5 years later, he's leaving Comerica, and he calls me up, and he's like, Chris, hey, I'm looking to move. I got a severance. I still have some cycles. You know my work ethic. Can you hook me up? He's happily employed at Oakland County the last 2 years. That's how it works. That's how jobs are found. That's how you get a new gig. Most likely, you're not applying through HR systems anymore. On the way here, on Wednesday, I had a conversation about another guy I used to work with. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me out? So what do you want to do? There's lots of opportunities. I know quite a few people. I can definitely put you in the right direction and pass on your resume. So I passed his resume on to 3 people already. At the speaker dinner, someone's like, hey, I'm not very happy where I am. Can you help me out? Sure. So this is how networking works. This is how not burning bridges works. And this is how jobs are found and made, especially jobs that you really want, not jobs that you have to take. So don't burn those bridges. Again, we're only one person away from knowing everybody. And network. Which brings me to tip 3, learn every day. This is something that we focused on at Oakland County. We had an initiative. Every single day you were supposed to go out and learn something. 5 minutes to 15 minutes, go out and learn. Get better at what you do to make your job more efficient. I'm a firm believer in learning. I only hire people that are passionate about learning and that have high integrity. Those are the 2 things that I look for in a person. I can teach you technology, or someone can teach you technology. I can't teach you work ethic, and I can't teach you integrity. Those are things that you have to grow up with, and if you don't have them, I'm not hiring you. And I won't recommend you. I've told friends that, sorry, I can't recommend you, because they have terrible work ethic, but they're my friends. From, not in work, but outside of work. Sorry. I won't put my name on somebody that doesn't value integrity or passion. So these are ways that you can learn. Again, LinkedIn's a great source. Go in the classroom, take a class. When I was the manager at Wholesome Cement, I was taking SANS courses once a year. And my peers were like, you're a manager. You got 50 people on your team. You're wasting the company money by taking a SANS class. I said, no, I need to know this. Security changes so fast, I can't manage something I don't know about. So it was great for me because now I've taken 12 SANS classes of my life. Every year I took one class. And it was part of the deal. So I'm way better off because I'm still somewhat technical, but not as technical as most of you these days. But I know enough to know how to manage projects. And I know if it takes 4 hours or 40 hours. And I know it's a simple 1 command that can do a job. It's not going to take 3 days. So those are things that I know that I've actually had hands-on keyboard experience learning through these SANS courses. So it's definitely benefited me by staying technical. And all my friends now are saying, dang it, I wish I would have taken those classes with you because security is hot, and I didn't keep up because I was managing people. So definitely get involved and keep learning. That's another Office Space clip. So teach often. Become a mentor. That is so valuable. I mean, there's so much knowledge out there that you can share with people. People are just thirsty to hear your stories. And everyone brings a different perspective. You could bring a program management perspective. You can bring a Linux perspective. You can bring a networking perspective. You can bring just any type of experience you have, someone could benefit from. I had a CISO of a big company ask me a favor and said, hey, I've got a person that's has some problems, and she's a great employee. I don't want to lose her, but she doesn't get along with her boss. Can you mentor her? And this is a CISO from out of state. So I said, sure. I'll call her and find out what's going on. And I talked to her every other Sunday from 11 to 12. That was the only time we could do it because she had kids. I have family. So I make the time every Sunday, and we talked. And it could have been about personal stuff. It could have been about career things, challenge that she's having with her boss. But you know what? If I went to her today, she would be I could ask her to do anything, because I took the time out of my schedule to help her with what she was going through and get her to a better place. So take the time to share your experiences, because even though they may be simple to you, it could be invaluable. Your 15 minutes of coaching could change someone's life. And right now, what I'm doing is, we have a small team that I'm on, and I spend 1 hour every other week with 3 of the more junior people, and I coach them on different topics. It could be how to deal with a customer. I did a session on Monday about networking. Like, not networking networking TCP/IP networking. So I thought we were talking about networking. So I started the discussion, okay, this is what I do, this is how I act. And he's like, no, Chris, let's talk about networking, because he came from a side. He said, when I'm talking to these customers, I don't understand. Can you help me? So we went down the stack. We went down MAC addresses, DNS, DHCP. What do they do and how do they work? And he said, you know what? This is the best hour I spent in the last month, because now I know more. I can talk to my customers more. So it's just doing that simple thing that maybe we learned about networking back in 92 or 93. He didn't know. So he's a much better employee for CBI now that he knows that, and he can go generate more business. So it's a win-win. And I tell you what, if I asked him for a favor tomorrow, he'd be all over it. So those are some of the things that you can do. And really, by mentoring, it forces you to get smarter at things that you already think you're smart at. Because most people know 80% of something. They don't know 100% of something. So I don't want to get in front of somebody and not have most of the answers. So I have to go back into my books or my research and say, oh yeah, this is how this worked again. You just take it for granted, because nowadays, you just hit a button and things work. Back when I was creating databases in 95, you actually had to script it out. Now to create an Oracle database, it's click, 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 and you're done. I was so mad in Oracle version 7.2.3 when they came out and they have a GUI. You just stole all of my hard work for the last 4 years on how to create this, all my scripts. Now you make it too easy. Anybody can be an Oracle DBA. Sorry, because any Oracle DBAs in here, but it's so easy now compared to what it was back in the early 90s. It's just different, right? So, but it forces you really to learn more about the things that provide value to people. Also, we have this gap, right, in talent. So you're, sharing your knowledge to better society and help all these organizations. So be a mentor, find a mentor. I'm still looking I kind of bop around and pick people's brains on areas that I want to get better at. I started studying psychology about 2 years ago. And the reason I study psychology is because I had tried to influence change. So I found these people that were really smart, and I started following their books and their blogs about how to impact people's memory, because memory drives decisions. So if you understand how they operate from their brain, you can pitch a program based on what's going to be memorable to them, and then in the end actually get what you're looking for from an effective change, because as a CISO, you're changing culture. You've got the hardest sales job ever. People don't want to do it. You're not getting the funding. Not maybe the hardest job ever, but it's a hard job. You have to basically go in and change the culture, especially if it needs changing. So you have to sell it. So how do you sell it? Understand their motivations. So those are some things that you can do from a teaching perspective. This is key too. There's all these different strengths that people have. Some people are thinkers. Some people are doers. Some people are futuristic. Some people love history. I found that knowing your strengths are keys to your success. There's this philosophy that everyone likes to focus on. People like to focus on their weaknesses because they want to be better. But tell me, do you like to do things that you're bad at? No. Do you like to do things that you're good at? Yes. And usually people like to be commended for those good deeds that they've done. So back in 2011, we ran this thing called StrengthsFinder. It's a $12 book, and I made my entire team take this. They read 30 minutes, and they filled out a questionnaire, basically. And it identifies the strengths. So there's 34 strengths, and it tells you what are your top 5. So then we charted those top 5 out, and then we shared them with everybody. So of the team of 51, we were remote. I found out the people that were futuristic. I found out the people that were developers, that were really good at those things, and they liked to do it. So when I had a pet project come up, I would say, wow, I need someone that really can get stuff done quickly, is very detailed, and does this. I go down my chart. Ray, he lives in Colorado. I call up Ray and say, Ray, I've got this thing. Our CIO asked me to do it. I don't have the cycles. Can you have it done by Friday? And this was like on a Tuesday. Hey, no problem. He worked and worked and worked and gave me a great product. And he was so happy, and I thanked him, and he was so happy that he was able to use his strengths to deliver something that was valuable to the organization. So knowing your strengths and leveraging your team's strengths are critical to success. Recently, I took this Colby test too. So this is another assessment you can take. I think it's about $50 to learn what your strengths are. That's something that CBI is doing. And we did it as a team to figure out who can focus on what areas of the business based on their strengths. So just knowing where you're strong can put you in a better position to succeed. Volunteer. So, one of the great things about volunteering is you get to hit people from different business sectors. So let's take dogs. Most people that I know like dogs. Probably 90% of the people that I talk to love dogs. They're passionate about dogs. Sometimes they like their dogs more than their kids, unfortunately, but that's just how things happen. So you find somebody and you volunteer at a pet place, and you can definitely make phenomenal networking connections by knowing someone that they value. You're into their heart. You're into their values. Things that they would do for their dog they wouldn't do for anybody else. They're probably their best friend. But you find a commonality with something that they're passionate about. So you can volunteer and find those type of people. And the nice thing about volunteers, it's not a hierarchy, right? So there's one person that kind of runs the show. So you have the ability to find those key people and just go right to them. I mean, and usually there's some powerful people in those volunteers because they've got time. Sometimes they have extra money, so they're just volunteers. So they've got great connections that you can then leverage. So you have to think about it as an opportunity really to expand your network by volunteering in certain organizations. The Cyberpatriot, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the Cyberpatriot, but it's a camp based for middle school and high school kids to learn cybersecurity. So in July, a couple of CBI people volunteered and went to UD Mercy and worked with these kids that were between the ages of 12 and 14. I think there was about 16 kids, and they learned how to use Linux, how to secure Windows, and we were just more or less proxying the event and making sure that the technology went well. But there are some super, super smart kids. So they're running this Cyberpatriot, and they're looking for volunteers. So if you're looking to get involved in helping the youth get smarter and take cyber seriously, look in Google Cyberpatriots. If they're in an area by you, volunteer. Tamara Shoemaker is leading this effort for Michigan. So if you know her, link in with her and see if you can get involved. But this is something that I'm going to be doing every year. I love it. This one girl was amazing. She was so smart. She was this tall redhead girl, and she had her hand up every time. She knew every single answer. I was like, man, I didn't even think about cybersecurity when I was 13. And she was very, very good. So she's going to go places. So, the other thing that, if you haven't heard of, is the Cyber Civilian Corps. So, we started this 2014, 2015, and it started. There was about 25 people that were actively involved. They have the first booth inside the vendor fair over here. Ray Davison is doing a phenomenal job running it. This is his full-time gig, and he is passionate about it. I talked to him about it yesterday. He just had fire in his eyes. It's great. After GrrCon last year, they recruited 25 new people. So now I think the membership is about 104. If you're interested in this, they have exercises, capture the flag exercises, and another area to network and really meet people, like-minded people that love technology and love security. So those are some good areas that you should probably get involved in. So this is an interesting one. We're all hired for a reason. Make your boss's job easier. But protect yourself is one of the things that you need to do, especially if you're an IT security leader, because I knew when I went into Oakland that I was the fall guy. It's not the CIO going down. It's the CISO going down, the head security guy. Phil would have my back, and I know that. But I know I was most people in business understand risk, and they understand contingency plans. So you've probably heard about all these breaches. The CEOs don't typically go down for a breach. Who goes down? That's the CISO or the head security person. So understand your position. That's all I'm saying is understand your position, because you may have to defend it when you want another job, if that so happens. That's tip number 7. This is probably the key slide to this whole deck. You are the brand. That's it. You are the brand. You are the product. You're selling yourself for 40 years or less if you don't want to work as much and you're able to financially do that. But you are managing your entire career. It's not anybody else's responsibility. There's some interesting history on certain people, but really you're ultimately responsible. And people will blame their circumstances, they'll blame their upbringing, they'll blame all these other things, but really you are in control. Everyone in this room is over 18, you're an adult. Basically, it's your job to control your brand. And you have, every day that you wake up, you have the decision to do X or Y. Whether you think you do or you don't, you do actually make 30,000 decisions a day. That was the stat. The human brain makes 30,000 decisions a day. The child, I think, is 8,000. And usually they're not good decisions, but sometimes adult decisions are bad too. But you have that choice, and that's what I'm going to just talk about there. Tip number 9 is about surrounding yourself with great people. Not so much these days, but about 15 years ago, people were so guarded. I know, especially in the Oracle world, the world that I swam in, these guys had been the Oracle guy forever and didn't want to share what they knew because they thought it was job security. And that's just not the case anymore. It's great coming here, and you talk to people like Chris Roberts, and he's just a wealth of information. And he said, oh, you want to know something? Email me, and he'll tell you. This is a community that we have in security, which is awesome because people want to share. I don't find very many guarded security people, really. Unlike it was when it was a Unix admin. They wouldn't tell you how they did anything at all. I mean, it was so hard to break into the business when that was my first job. I was a Unix admin coming out of college. I had to learn how to do scripting from books because these guys wouldn't teach me anything because they thought it was job security. So as a leader, I find you look for people that are better than you at certain things. I mean, certainly I think I'm a good leader because I find people that are better at shooting baskets or better at running pen tests or better at risk assessments. So you need those strategic, basically people that are just rock stars to make you better as an organization. So don't be afraid of hiring somebody better than you because they're not going to put you out of a job. Really, they will not. And it'll only make you grow because then you can be a sponge and learn from them. I've learned so much when I came to CBI 6 months ago from these guys that I respected, and it's just because they want to share. And then I shared with them about certain things that I know that they don't know. It's just mutual respect and learning, something that we all need to do. So one thing, just as a stat, it's this business is only growing. There's only more and more demand. Yes, we're automating. We're doing things that are smarter, faster, but so are the bad guys. I mean, they're faster than us, right? So again, one of the slides that I saw yesterday was more or less, I'll fail by myself, but together we'll succeed, something about that type of nature. And that's something that we need to do together. So we're going to be in business for a long time. Your jobs are somewhat secure, but again, you need to really focus on your brand and taking care of yourself, because basically this is your livelihood. These are the takeaways about what you should be doing from a career risk management, in my opinion. Some of the things that I've done over the last 5 years for my brand is I'll go through a couple examples that might pique your interest to give you kind of like a starter kit of things that you might want to think about doing. I developed this thing called SciSafe when I was the CISO at Oakland County. And what SciSafe is, it was basically what I did there at the county. So I took some NIST, some ISO, and the 20 critical controls and said, what do these things really need? What do organizations really need to effectively manage security? So I boiled those 400 controls down to 36. And so these are the 36 controls that all organizations should have in place. And then you have to gauge yourself on maturity. So I built this tool and started sharing it. And the nice thing about the county was they like to share things with other people that aren't as fortunate to have the money or the time or the resources to do this kind of work. So SciSafe came out of Michigan, and it was 5 counties plus the state. We built this tool. I was the primary author, but I took feedback from the 5 other CIOs. So I was a security guy, and I said, what are you guys concerned about from a CIO perspective? I'll tell you my angle from a security perspective. So we built this tool and gave it away for free. So it's been downloaded in all 50 states. It's been talked about at Congress. It's a cool little thing. It won tons of awards back in 14 and then 16. But it's a great tool if you're interested in. There's a link at the bottom to go download it. It's an assessment that you can take in about 2 to 4 hours. You get your leads, and you get it on the whiteboard, and you actually have to be truthful about your answers because it talks about your maturity. What do you do for asset management? And then you rate yourself. Are you based on CMMI? Are you a 0, a 1, a 0, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And there's examples built into the tool. So if you're looking for a framework, you're looking for some guidance, it's a cool little tool that I've been using since 2014. The latest version I released in 2018 in February, and it has the updated controls from the changes from NIST, ISO, and the 20 critical controls. So what we did now that I went to CBI, we took that framework and modified it. So now there's a SciSafe for medical. So we took those controls and we geared them toward hospital and people that control medical networks. So now we're using this as a guide for hospitals. What do they have in place? What are they doing? And helping them prioritize their biggest risks. So in the tool, you answer the questions. It produces a color-coded priority list based on your maturity, and then it allows you to graph and trend. So within 2 to 4 hours, you've got a baseline, and then as you spend money, it's a great tool to educate your leadership about the changes that you've effectively made within your program. So it's measurable, it's easy to read, it's a one-pager. I don't have a picture of the radar graph, but basically all I did was present my radar graph to our board. This is how we've grown based on the $500,000 investment in the last quarter. We've improved 0.7 on operations. And that's all they need to know. They don't need to know the weeds. But it's a great vehicle for you to explain progress to your leadership. So this is something that I did recently with our team. And it was a good suggestion from one of my peers. And it was more or less what I want you guys really to do is, as a takeaway, look at these 4 things. Write down what you love to do and what you're great at. Likewise, what you like to do and you're good at, what you don't like to do and good, and what you don't like and you're not good. And these are some examples of mine. I just copied and pasted this. So this is me showing you some examples of what I think I'm good at and what things I don't really like to do. But once you understand yourself, then you can project your career and go in the right direction. That's the battle is there's so many different directions that you can go in, but these are things that I don't like to do, so I don't do them well. I'm not good at them. I tried them, but I'm not good. So I don't focus on those. What I think I'm good at is learning, presenting to people, taking technical solutions and making them easily digestible to people that don't understand technology. I can do that pretty good. I've been doing that my entire life. If I can teach my grandma how to get online and do certain things, I think I can teach most business people how to do it. I taught her a password management strategy, and she's 86 years old, and she got it. It took me 20 minutes. I couldn't do that at some of the places I've worked for months. They didn't care, right? But if I could teach her these techniques and these solutions, then I know I can effectively communicate technical solutions to non-technical people. But this, I would suggest take 20 minutes. Just get a pad of paper and find your zone, whether it's a cup of coffee, it's the end of the night when the kids are in bed, and just be honest with yourself about what you're really good at. And you'll find that you'll be enlightened. You're like, you know what? That's why that project was bad, because I had this role and I wasn't good at it. So next time, instead of you taking on that task, why don't you divvy it out to somebody else and say, I'll take this part, you take that part, because I'm really good here, and I think you're really good there, and then you're more likely to succeed. But until you really understand what your driving factors are, you're not going to improve as much as you could. So again, this is a big thing for me. We have choices every day, and every single day you wake up, you have an opportunity to get better or not. So I'd advocate for you to take some of these tips. There might be one tip, there might be 4 tips, or maybe all 10 of them apply to you. But my success for today is if one of you guys gets better at career management, then I think I've done my job really for today. And that's the slide deck I have for you. I'll entertain any questions about anything that I talked about, or if there's any other comments. More than happy to talk to you guys after. I'm going to stick around till about 2 and then head home. But I'd love to hear about your thoughts. If you have other tips for me, again, I want to learn. So if you got a tip that you think is just a home run, please say, hey, man, you should expand this to 11 or 12 or 13. I've got some really good ones that worked for me because, again, people are all different, and they definitely learn different ways. But thank you for your time today.